Hey, what's up, guys? Happy birthday, YouTube. I'm here making my first YouTube video with my UFC 114 predictions. This card's coming up in a couple weeks. The main event is Rampage Jackson versus Rashad Evans. Should be a good fight. I've been looking forward to it for a while. These guys really don't like each other. They coached together on The Ultimate Fighter 10. And, yeah, Rampage destroyed a door out of his frustration after continually losing to Rashad's fighters. So, I don't know. I think this fight's gonna be very exciting. This entire card shaping up to be pretty good. They've got 5 previous Ultimate Fighter winners. You got Season 1 winner Diego Sanchez, Season 2 winner Rashad Evans, Season 3 winner Michael Bisping, Season 7 winner Amir Sadollah, and Season 8 winner Efrain Escudero. So a lot of good fighters here. The Ultimate Fighter represented extremely well. Alright, starting out in the undercard, we got Jensen versus Jesse Forbes. This is kind of a clash of styles here. Forbes is a stand-up fighter. He's finished a lot of guys by TKO and KO, and Jensen is more of a ground fighter. His fights, his wins are mostly by submission, like choke or arm lock. And I've got Forbes winning this one by TKO. He's been around longer. His list of victories is just a bit more impressive. And I don't know a whole lot about either of these guys enough to really make any sort of informed decision, so I'm going with Forbes by TKO. Next up, we got Aaron Riley versus Joe Brammer. These guys are both coming off losses they suffered in December. Riley lost to Ross Pearson at UFC 105 by TKO, doctor stoppage. And Brammer lost to Mark Bocek by choke at the Ultimate Fighter 10 finale. But Riley's been around for a while. He's been fighting for 9-10 years, and he's only 28-29. And again, his list of victories is more impressive than that of Joe Brammer. I think Brammer's only... Yeah, I can't name anyone significant that he's beaten. I have Riley winning this by unanimous decision. Next up, we got Luiz versus Cyrillie Diabate. Diabate is making his UFC debut. He's a French kickboxer. He's fought in a lot of different systems. He's fought Babalu Sobral and Shogun Rua, but he's 36 years old. He's only fought a few times in the past 3 or 4 years. And Kane's an up-and-comer, and despite getting knocked out by Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, Little Nog, who we'll talk about later, I think he's an up-and-comer, and I think he wins this fight by TKO. And the last undercard fight is Melvin Guillard versus Waylon Lowe. This was originally supposed to be Melvin Guillard versus Thiago Tavares, but Tavares had to pull out due to an injury suffered during training. He hurt his shoulder, so he had to pull out. And I tried to do some research on Waylon Lowe. Couldn't really find anything. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. And Guillard's been around for a while. He's got a lot of fights under his belt. He was on The Ultimate Fighter Season 5, which was an incredibly tough season, no pun intended, rather. And I think he's just going to overwhelm Lowe and win by TKO in the first round. Moving up to the Spike TV preliminary fights, we got Efrain Escudero versus Dan Lauzon. Escudero's a Season 8 Ultimate Fighter winner. He's extremely well-rounded, good fighter. His last fight against Evan Dunham, he was in control most of the fight and ended up getting caught in an armbar late in the 3rd round. But I think he's going to come back strong, and from what I've heard from Joe Lauzon on his website, that's Dan's brother, he's also a UFC fighter, Dan hasn't been taking his training seriously, hasn't been focusing or training as hard as he should. So I think this fight's going to be a rude awakening. I think Escudero is going to come back strong with a vengeance, and he's going to control the fight for 3 rounds, wear Lauzon down, and win by choke in the 3rd round. Next up, we got Amir Sadollah versus Dong Hyun Kim. Sadollah was a Season 7 winner of The Ultimate Fighter. He finished all of his opponents on that season. He lost to Johnny Hendricks a few fights back, and that was kind of controversial because the referee stopped the match, even though it looked like Sadollah was intelligently defending himself and getting up while being punched by Hendricks. But he's rebounded. He's won his last 2 fights by unanimous decision, beating Phil Baroni and Brad Blackburn. He's got good Muay Thai, good leg kicks, good knees. He's able to control his fights. He comes out really with not a whole lot of damage done to him. And I think he's going to do the same thing to Kim. Kim hasn't fought since UFC 100. He's fought in a lot of different systems, but I don't know a ton about him, and I think Sadollah is still on the rise. He could be a very dangerous, very good fighter down the road, and I think this is just going to be the next unanimous decision victory for him. Moving up to the pay-per-view main card, we got Diego Sanchez versus John Hathaway. Sanchez's last fight was for the lightweight title against BJ Penn. He's moved back up to welterweight, and he's fighting Hathaway. Hathaway's undefeated. His last fight was a win over Paul Taylor, but other than that, he really hasn't faced anyone worth noting, and he's just not ready for a guy of Diego Sanchez's caliber. Sanchez is going to overwhelm him, I think, by a TKO, second round. Next fight, we got Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, Diet Nog. As I said, he's coming off a win, knockout over Luiz Kane in his debut at UFC 106 in December. He comes from a very good training camp. His brother is Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, who's been in the UFC heavyweight title hunt for a while and is also an extremely tough fighter. So he's got a good background. He's a well-rounded fighter, and he's fighting Jason Brilz. He was originally supposed to fight Forrest Griffin. Griffin had to pull out because he injured his shoulder during training. So Brilz stepped in. Brilz, he has a good 18-2-1 record, but he's mostly a lay and pray type fighter, and I don't think he's going to be able to get Nogueira to the ground. Nogueira is extremely well-rounded, and I've got Nogueira winning by knockout in the second round. Mike Russow versus Todd Duffee is the next fight up. This is another clash of styles. Russow is a ground fighter, and Duffee is a stand-up fighter. He's finished all his fights in the first or second round. He holds the record for fastest recorded knockout in UFC, 7 seconds, over Tim Haug. And if Russow wants to win this fight, he's going to have to get it to the ground and submit, or Duffee rather. And I just don't see that happening. I think if he tries to get to the ground, he might meet a fist in the weigh-in. I think Duffee's going to knock him out or win by TKO in the first or second round. Co-main event, Michael Bisping versus Dan Miller. Miller's coming off a couple losses to Damian Maia and Chael Sonnen, so he's been fighting quality guys, but I think Bisping, as much as I hate to say this, I think he's going to come back and just going to be too tough for Miller. He lost a unanimous decision victory, or loss to Vanderlei Silva at UFC 110, and I don't know, Silva was very close to finishing that fight in any of the 3 rounds, so I think Bisping was lucky to get out conscious, but he thinks he should have won that fight. It did go 29-28, I think, to all 3 judges. And I think he's going to come back and win this fight by TKO over Miller, as much as I hate to say that. And then main event, Rashad Evans versus Rampage Jackson. People are extremely excited for this fight, and people are saying that this fight's going to go one of 2 ways. Either Rampage is going to come out and rip Rashad's head off, win by KO or TKO, or Rashad's going to stay to the outside, use his leg kicks, use his wrestling, use his jabs, and control the distance, control the tempo of the fight, and grind out a unanimous decision victory. And that's what I think. I mean, I'm a wrestler, so I could be biased, but I think Rashad's going to come out. He's going to come out smart with a good game plan and win by unanimous decision victory and go on to face Shogun. So, yeah, feel free to leave comments or responses, subscribe, tell me what you think, tell me how wrong I am. And keep it real, YouTube.